Hello again, Vince here from Hudson Bonsai, and today I'm going to be working on another American elm that's planted in a pond basket. This is another tree that was collected. This tree was actually growing like in the middle of the mowed area of my lawn, and I just kind of left it grow there for a while, and then when it came time to dig it up, the root system was so big and widespread that I basically just got root stumps when I dug it up. There was no fibrous root whatsoever, and I cut it at the top, and this little branch down here was really the only bit of growth other than just this kind of stick. So it's an elm. I figured it would survive, and it's done quite well. Got a little bit of pruning last year. It has the same problem as the other elm I was working on the other day, where the surface layer of the soil is just kind of washed out through the larger holes in the top of these colanders or pond baskets. So I'm going to do the same thing I did with that tree. Also put a little sphagnum in there, add some soil to it. Also, I'm going to be working today, at least somewhat, on this entire side of the trunk down to I don't know where is dyed back, and it has there's deadwood under the bark, and I want to just kind of explore that a little bit and see how far it goes around the trunk. I mean, obviously the trunk is alive to the top. The highest branch is within 3/4 of an inch of that stub cut, and that's another area that needs a little attention because there's 5 branches coming from that point. So anyhow, I get started with a little bit of pruning. Haven't thought very much about design on this tree as far as which side is the front. That side you can actually see this older branch, which I guess in the end is probably a good thing. So maybe that'll be the side. I have no idea what the root base is going to look like on this tree. It's all going to have developed from one side. I haven't seen it since I put it in this pot. There's definitely a branch right here that I just don't think I'm going to ever need. I'm going to take that out. There's a little dead stub next to it. And so other than this group of branches at the top, I think that's about it for kind of structural must-go type of branches. I think I'm going to go ahead and remove this really large, strong branch up here. And the only way I could really use it, I think, as the apex, I have to wire it around. It's really dead straight there. There's a branch right here that does have some character, some movement. It's already starting to bifurcate. I think that would be my first choice as a apex. And there's a fairly strong branch back here, this big strong branch, and a pretty small weak branch back here, but it is going in a pretty good direction. Like I said, this big strong branch, I mean, I could reduce it that much, and then it's relatively the same strength as the others. It just doesn't have much character. And if I'm going to wire, I could wire it right into shape, but if I'm going to wire a branch, why not use one of these other branches that already has a little bit of character? Cut this back. Get rid of that one. So now I'm down to 3 here. I think the smart thing to do is get rid of the smallest, weakest one. So that's what I'm going to do. Got another really big, strong branch here. This is a branch that I probably will choose to wire at some point. I mean, these things are really nice and flexible. Wiring's not a big deal. This is a branch that I'm going to reduce. Again, a lot of this stronger stuff up here in the apex. I'm going to cut the tips back. I cut them to a leaf that's pointed in the direction that I want it to grow. This is the apex. I'm going to leave that alone for now. A lot more branches here that just growing way outside the shape of this tree. All right, for the moment, that's all the pruning I'm going to do. I want to get a look at that dead wood there that I was talking about. To make that easier on myself, I'll take a couple pieces of wire and just loosely tie these branches down a little bit. I'm just going to loop that piece of wire through the pot. I'm just going to use that to just get this out of my way a little bit. Out here around one of these thicker branches out towards the end. I'll make a little loop there. Pull it down out of my way like that. Like I said, up here move in a little closer here. So you can see bare wood there. There's a whole section of this trunk that is actually dead. I don't know how far around the trunk to either side it goes. I want to just kind of start to pick and peel it away until I find where the living tissue is actually starting. Seems like I found it over here. Maybe. Films develop some pretty thick bark, so a little bit of work to remove it. But I do want to know, where the actual, I guess you have to call it a live vein, is existing on this tree. How much of this trunk is actually either going to have to be removed or it's going to rot away on its own. I have to be getting close. Over there, there's a living branch. So it kind of seems like it, maybe died back in more than one stage. Maybe some died right away and it just continued to recede after that. Yeah, I can see that looks like living tissue right there, like some callus forming. Like I said, some sections of this, it's obviously dead. The bark is much more well attached than it is in other areas. Like those were some of the last places, to actually die off. Well, don't know that I really want to go all that much further than that. I'm just going to let that continue to dry up and crumble off on its own. We'll do a bit of work to that stub though. I can how hard this wood is. Yeah, there's a nice piece. That's touching that living vein now on that side. Careful. I don't want to go too far with this here today. Would like to not see that big stub anymore though. There we go. Yeah, it's a good start. Just that looks a whole lot less like a stump cut now and more like a broken top. I'm not afraid to let that rot away now. I don't know how much more work I'll ever really do to that. Now I can let these branches go again. Let's just leave that wire right where it is. Actually, it's kind of what I think I want for that branch anyway. So that's the tree back as a whole. I don't think I really need to do anymore. I might do a little bit of leaf cutting. Not a whole lot, but especially on some of these branches that I did not prune, I can just take a few of these. really large leaves back. Even up here. I'm not going to do a real lot of this. Just some of the strongest and the more congested areas like this one here. A lot of leaves trying to compete for the same sun. Same thing up here. Just trying to even things out a little bit. I think we're getting there. Just a few more. I think that's going to do it for now. Alright, so the last thing I'm going to do with this tree today is I am going to add just a little bit of soil, but the more I've looked at this, the more I can see that it's actually fairly close to the correct level right now. You probably won't be able to see it, but you can see the root flare begin, and around this side I can see some smaller roots. Just kind of, you know, starting to bifurcate from where those original thick roots were that I just kind of hacked off. So I'm going to add just a little bit of soil in there, not much at all. I'm going to take some sphagnum, loosen it up real good. Just put a little bit of it around this outside edge here. hopefully enough to catch a lot of the soil particles or the top dressing. It wants to try and wash out of the surface here. I'll just take a little bit of that soil that I put in and drag it out and kind of pack it up against it a little bit. Not much. I'm just going to take some top dressing that I already have made up and cover the soil with that. That should help keep that surface of this soil in place and intact from now on. If you're wondering what that wire is, it actually goes all the way down through the bottom of the basket. Like I said, there was no root ball to attach to when I potted this tree in here, so I needed something to actually hold it in place. And I have loosened that wire a little bit from time to time since I put it in there. So even though this elm obviously has thick bark, I don't want to scar it. But this tree had roots growing all out of the basket down into the ground and stuff this spring, and I did lift it and cut those off. You can see some finer roots coming through again already. Anyway, that's going to do it for this tree. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Bye.